At 8:17 p.m., the knock came. Sharp, deliberate, nothing like the sound of a neighbor or a late delivery. James froze mid-step, the exhaustion of the week still dragging at his shoulders. When he opened the door, rain spilled in behind the one person he least expected to see. "James," Alexandra Monroe said, her voice unsteady, unthinkable for a woman who could silence a boardroom with a glance. Water streaked down her face as she held a soaked envelope to her chest. "I accepted your resignation," her breath hitched. "But I didn't accept losing you." The words punched straight through him. This was the CEO who never cracked, never hesitated, never let emotion slip past her armor. Yet here she was, shaking, drenched, breaking every rule she built her life on. James felt his heartbeat shift, a quiet fear rising with something he hadn't allowed himself to admit. Why come here? Why now? And what truth was she finally unable to hold back? Stay with this story, and subscribe to Canada's Heartfelt Tales for more unforgettable moments. The moment Alexandra stepped into the apartment, the storm outside felt quieter than the storm inside James's chest. Water pooled at her feet, her breaths uneven, and for the first time since he'd known her, she looked like someone fighting a losing battle with her own courage. "James, I shouldn't have come," she whispered, eyes flicking toward the door as if she was ready to escape before he could ask the questions she feared answering. "Then why did you?" he asked, his voice softer than he expected. She clenched her jaw. "Because everything I've held together these 12 years started cracking the moment you walked out of the building." Before he could respond, another knock, this one heavy, rude, careless, pounded on the door. Alexandra startled. James stepped in front of her out of instinct. He opened the door to find Trent Harlow, Apex's most arrogant division director, standing in the hallway with a smug expression. Trent, wealthy family, legacy connections, the kind of man who believed rules applied only to those beneath him. The same man who had made James's job twice as hard for years with his power games, backhanded insults, and veiled class-based digs. And the same man who had smirked through James's exit interview, whispering to another executive, "Good, one less charity case in the management suite." "What are you doing here?" James demanded. Trent pushed past him without waiting. "I tracked her phone. The board is in chaos because the CEO disappeared, and surprise, she's hiding with you." He cast a mocking glance at the motorcycle parts scattered across the floor. "Charming little dump you've got." Alexandra stepped forward, cold fury in every line of her body. "Tracking my phone is a violation of policy." Trent shrugged. "And fraternizing with a subordinate isn't. Please. The board deserves to know if their CEO is collapsing over some mid-level burnout case." James swallowed hard, feeling heat rise in his neck. Trent wasn't just here to embarrass him. He wanted to use this moment to destroy Alexandra's leadership. "You don't get to talk to him like that," Alexandra snapped. "I can talk to him however I want," Trent shot back. "He's nobody. He always was. And you," he pointed at her smirking, "you're risking the company for a guy who couldn't handle stress. How pathetic." The words echoed in the cramped apartment. Something in James tightened. Not pain, not fear, but resolve. "Get out," James said. Trent laughed. "Oh, you think you can tell me what to do? You quit, remember? You don't matter anymore." Alexandra stepped between them. "Trent, leave. Now." Instead, he reached into his jacket and pulled out his phone. "Actually, I'm going to record this. The board will love it." Apex's CEO storming off to cry in her ex-employee's apartment while the rest of us keep the company running. Alexandra paled. "Don't you dare." But Trent was already hitting record. And that's when James moved. He didn't shout. He didn't grab the phone. He simply stepped beside Alexandra and said, loud enough for the microphone to catch, "Trent, how's your little secret audit going? The one you've been faking numbers for?" Trent froze. James held his gaze. "You think no one noticed? The missing inventory. The double-billed vendors. The consultants that don't exist." Alexandra's eyes widened slightly, This was new to her too. Trent lowered the phone a fraction. You don't know what you're talking about. Oh, I do, James replied. Because while I was drowning in work during the merger, I kept finding errors that magically traced back to your department. But I was too burned out to fight you then. His voice hardened. I'm not too burned out now. Trent's face twisted. You have no proof. You sure? James asked quietly. He stepped to a drawer near the kitchen and pulled out a thick folder. Printouts he'd made before resigning, documents he hadn't yet decided what to do with. He tossed it on the coffee table. Invoices, duplicate purchase orders, emails with altered timestamps, vendor signatures that didn't match. Trent's expression collapsed. Alexandra flipped through the documents, her jaw tightening with each page. You stole from my company. It's not what it looks like, Trent sputtered. It's exactly what it looks like, James said. Alexandra straightened, her voice suddenly sharp, steady, and frighteningly calm, the voice that had built an empire. You came here tonight to humiliate us. Instead, you handed me your resignation and your indictment at the same time. You can't fire me, Trent stammered. The board. I am the board, Alexandra interrupted. And effective immediately, you're suspended pending a full investigation. She stepped closer, her voice low but lethal. Security will escort you out on Monday. And Trent, I hope you kept receipts for that lifestyle you couldn't afford, because you're going to need a lawyer. Trent turned pale, then red, then pale again. You did this, he hissed at James. You ruined me. No, James said. You ruined yourself. And this time when James said, get out, Trent obeyed. He stormed into the hallway, water splashing from his shoes, slamming the door behind him so hard the apartment walls trembled. Silence stretched for several seconds. Then Alexandra let out a breath that sounded like months of fear leaving her body. She sank onto the edge of the couch, eyes still locked on the folder of evidence. You kept all this, she asked. James nodded. I didn't know what to do with it until now. Her voice softened. You saved my company. He sat beside her. You saved me first. She looked down at her trembling hands, then up at him. I meant what I said earlier. Losing you broke something in me. And having you show up, fixed something in me, he said quietly. They didn't kiss. They didn't rush. They simply sat there, the storm outside roaring while a different kind of storm quieted between them. But the story of Trent wasn't over. 3 days later, Alexandra called James into her office, not as an employee, but as someone she trusted. On the large monitor behind her, security footage played. Trent being escorted out of the building, wild-eyed, shouting at guards who didn't respond. As he passed the lobby, employees whispered, filming him discreetly. The same staff he'd belittled for years now watched him lose everything in real time. He fought the charges, Alexandra said. Then legal found even more. What happens to him now? James asked. He'll face trial, she replied. And when the dust settles, every company in this industry will know what he did. No one hires thieves who steal from their own teams. James nodded slowly. That's satisfying. It is, she agreed. She stood, walked around the desk, and stopped in front of him. Not the CEO, but the woman who came to his door in the rain. There's one more thing, she said. Your wellness director program. The board approved it. Fully funded. And they want you leading it. James felt something shift inside him again. This time lighter, stronger. Then I guess, he said softly, we both get to start over. Alexandra touched his hand gently. Starting over sounds perfect. But the real hook came moments later, when Alexandra's assistant knocked and stepped inside with wide eyes. You need to see this, she said. She handed Alexandra her tablet. On the screen was a viral video, the lobby footage of Trent's meltdown, captioned by a witness. Racist exec fired and exposed for stealing from his own company. Karma hits fast. And the view count was climbing fast. Alexandra looked at James. James looked at the screen. And in that charged electric moment they both realized Trent's downfall was only just beginning. In the weeks that followed, James found himself stepping into a version of life he once thought was out of reach. Not because everything suddenly became easy, but because he no longer ran from the truth, his truth. He'd spent years shrinking himself to fit into expectations built by people like Trent, people who measured worth by titles and salaries. Now he finally understood that real strength didn't come from endurance alone, but from choosing moments that mattered and letting the rest fall away. Alexandra changed too. The woman who spent her life guarding every weakness now allowed space for honesty. Hers and everyone else's. Under her leadership, Apex shifted from a machine of pressure to a place where people breathed again. And every time James walked through those halls, he felt the quiet satisfaction of knowing he'd helped break the silence that once weighed on so many. One evening, as the city lights shimmered against her office windows, Alexandra handed him a small box filled with the last of Trent's confiscated items. "We don't always win clean battles," she said softly, "but truth has a way of finding its mark." James nodded, feeling the weight of her words settle like something earned, not given. Later on his ride home, the hum of the restored motorcycle blended with the glow of passing street lamps. For the first time in a long time, the road didn't feel like escape. It felt like arrival. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe to Canada's Heartfelt Tales so we can continue bringing meaningful stories to life.